Bella Raye, first and foremost, thank you for sitting down with me today. We got a lot to cover.
Yes, I'm
We do.
excited.
So we're going to start with Dear 17, but
Okay.
first I want to know a little bit about you. Where did this come from? This whole project. I sat down, I listened to it, and I loved every single thing that I heard.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
So give me the backstory. From Bristol, Tennessee, you moved to Nashville, and now we
Yes.
have Dear 17. Where did it all start?
So I moved to Nashville when I was 17, and so
Okay.
I've been here for a little over 2 years now, and I met the producer, Zach Allen, through another project that I was doing, and I came to him and I was like, hey, like, I have these songs that I think are super important that a lot of girls in my age group should hear right now.
Okay.
And that I would want to hear if I was that age again. And so we decided to put it together and call it Dear 17, and it's done amazing. Like it's done better than I would have ever imagined, and I'm just super blessed. So
Now you got a lot of listeners on Spotify, and I've looked on YouTube. You got a lot of views. I mean, this thing is really taking off in a very, very short period of time. But you just mentioned that you'd only been here for 2 years.
yeah, when I first moved here, I was at Belmont, so
Okay.
I did a semester there, and I was a commercial music major, and I loved it. But my parents and I sat down, and we just decided that it would be best if I, chilled out, did music, and put all my focus into that. And for the first like 8 to 10 months that I was just doing music, everything was really slow, and I felt like I wasn't like getting anywhere. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't playing any shows. And then about a year into it, I started meeting people, playing rounds, writing with actual other co-writers, and everything started blossoming from there. And that's when I came up with all these songs for the EP, and we just went to work.
Now, was the plan when you moved here, was it at first to go to school and then release the EP, or was it to work on the EP while you were in school? I guess how did all of this come together?
Honestly, I just wanted to move to Nashville to be around musicians constantly.
Okay.
I was actually going to be a nursing major. And my brother was
okay.
like, he texted my mom and he was like, Mom, Bella is not going to have any time to do her music. Like, what is she thinking? So I switched to music major and, whatever. But my main goal was to just be around musicians and to be in this community of people who just have the same goal and dream in mind that I did.
Okay.
And I mean, I never looked back, so.
Now, does music run through the family? Are your parents musicians? Are your cousins, siblings? Are you the outsider?
I'm kind of the outsider.
Okay.
My brother's a dental student, so he's going to be in that workplace. And then my sister is in pharmacy. My mom kind of plays piano. My dad can kind of sing a note. I don't know. But, I mean, not really. Like, no one's ever, like, had a career in entertainment or anything in that realm. So I think I'm sort of like the runt. I don't know.
No, that's
but,
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now, when did you start playing instruments? Is this something that you learned over the past few years since moving to Nashville? Is this something you did as a kid? I mean, walk me through it.
Yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 13.
Okay.
And it was really funny because it just sat in my room forever and I never played it. And my dad eventually was like, okay, are you going to play this or we're going to sell it? And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. Like, he would come in my room and he would be like, okay, you need to change chords faster and like get better at it. And so eventually I started doing that. I started writing like super not good songs, but to me back then they were like amazing. And so I would start performing at little shows like at the coffee shop in my hometown, and like I would play at talent shows in school and like whatever else. But I didn't actually get my first real guitar till I went to high school.
Okay.
And so when that happened, it was like, okay, time to buckle down, get sort of serious about this. And when I was turned 16, I was like, this is what I want to do. So.
Now, you knew you were coming to Nashville. You knew you were going to put this EP out. But this, I mean, did you really expect it to do what it has done in such a short period of time? Because the EP came out in January.
Yeah.
We're now in June.
Yeah.
And in 6 months' time, this thing has done just exceptional in numbers. Was this the plan, or was this more so, I just want to release some good music?
Honestly, I was just trying to make something that I believed in and that people could relate to and listen to it and, have emotions towards it. I had no idea that it was going to, reach over 100K streams in less than 6 weeks. I mean, I had no idea.
Right.
Like, my producer and I were talking about it, and he was like, Bella, like, I'm blown away. Like, it was such a blessing. Like, I had no idea. I mean, all my friends were so supportive through it. And I'm glad that I released it when I did, because I felt like when I released it, I had a really good core group of people that cared about me, that were supporting me and sharing it. And that meant the world. Like, it just made me feel so warm and fuzzy inside, because I was like, oh, people actually
There you
care,
go.
like, about my work, Like, I wish I could go back and tell the 14-year-old me who was like, no one like thinks I'm good, to actually having friends and a team in Nashville that were like, this is good and we're gonna go with it.
Now let's go back to 14-year-old you for just a second. When you were thinking about this whole move to Nashville, you were thinking about this EP. Who were your influences? Who inspired you?
The biggest ones probably for me would be Taylor Swift. As a songwriting standpoint, she is just absolutely phenomenal. And as an artist, she's always stayed true to her true self. She's never swayed back and forth and out of different personas. She's always been very true to herself. Obviously, newer people, Carly Pearce is a huge influence, and Kelsey Ballerini, Casey Musgraves. But then also like Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt,
the legends for sure.
And, just country for sure. But I mean, obviously, I love all genres, so I have a little bit of everything in my music. So.
There you go. So how were you able to find your creative niche here? So Nashville is just this melting pot of creativity, right? You have so many different like genres of music represented here from all across the board. How were you able to move here and find your niche and find where you fit in and what worked for you in such a short period of time?
I don't know. I just honestly started going to shows. I wasn't even playing. I wasn't getting invited to do shows because no one knew who I was. And no one had really heard me at that point. So I would just go and meet people. And I was anybody that I could put my hand in front of and say, hi, I'm Bella Raye. Like, I do this and I want to do this. And write with me, please. Like, I want to be better. And it was honestly just a lot of that, like making sure people wouldn't forget my face when I left the room. And I still try to do that now. I still try to just really create relationships that matter. I just think that in this music industry, it's a lot of like, what can this person do for me? And I think that it should be, what can I do to help this person? And then maybe in return, or later down the road, possibly they could also help me.
There you go.
But I just think that people can get selfish and greedy, and I just think that everyone has the same goal. And so I just think that there's no competition. I just think that you're either talented or you're not talented in that aspect. I mean, everyone just has like their own things, and I just think that if you find that, you find what you love, and you find people that support you, just run with it.
So let's fast forward to this EP, Dear 17, the title track. I heard the record, I loved it. What is this song about? Because I mean, I saw the video. Where was the video shot at?
Spring Hill Middle School.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did this with Self Films, Bennett Self. I actually met him doing a video with one of my friends, Sego Genesis. He's a EDM producer, and he's amazing. He sat down with me and we wrote the treatment for it, and it was just like a dream. I had no idea what I was doing. It was the first music video or first serious video anything that I've ever done in my life.
You couldn't tell by the video. Everything looked really well.
Yeah. And it was like a 14-hour day. I was exhausted. We did the last scene in his car, so we did like a driving scene. And I was like, Bennett, I cannot keep my eyes open. I'm so tired. And no, but I ended the night with McDonald's, and I was like, this is a win. And I put it out, and like, it's exceeded my expectations too. I mean, I'm just blessed with the people I get to work with. So
now you got 6 really good songs on there. Now my personal favorite is Old Me.
Thank you.
That I hear the country influence, but I also hear pop influence. Let's talk about that record. What inspired it?
So Old Me was a song I wrote with my friend Taji Bachman.
Okay.
She's an amazing songwriter and artist here in town as well. And that was the first write that we ever had. And so I was really shocked that we came out with something that good. And I just started playing it out in rounds, and everyone was like, what is that? Like, sing it again. And so I still like play it to this day, like more than any of the other songs on my record, just because I just know that people like it and I relate to it. It's just about being in a relationship and losing yourself because that person just takes and takes and takes and never wants to give anything back. So I had an experience with that in high school with one of my boyfriends, and we wrote it, and apparently other people can relate to that too.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I think my specialty is heartbreak songs. I've dealt with a lot of that in my life, and that's what I can tap into the best. And so this whole record was just basically a whole long list of experiences that I've gone through. Maybe not to exact T, but the general idea. And so I wanted girls and guys and adults to be able to listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, she gets me. Like, that's so cool. So.
Now there's another record I heard that is not on the EP.
Yes.
And correct me, I'm gonna get the title wrong, and I already know it. If I drink whiskey.
If I could drink.
If I could drink whiskey, and I knew I was gonna botch it. Where did that song come from?
So honestly, I think I was out somewhere with my parents, and my dad was like, oh my goodness, Bella. So everyone writes about drinking and like all these drinking songs and party songs, but you're not 21 yet, so you should write something from the opposite perspective, like of not being able to, but wondering what it would be like. So he came up with that idea, and I was like, I'm gonna write that, Dad. Like, my parents, I've never like come up with something like that before, and it just came out of nowhere, and I was like, what the heck? So yeah, I wrote it, and it's just basically, it's talking about going through a breakup and wishing that you could drink to be able to relate to people that have always been like, oh, well, I just did that to forget the person, to forget all the hurt I'm feeling and whatever else. And so I just wrote about that to help girls that are like 16, 17 going through like a breakup and only having like, they just have to deal with their pure emotions on their own. You know what I mean? Like, there's no alcohol to help with that. So, yeah, I wrote it from the standpoint of, if I could drink whiskey, I know this wouldn't kill me. Like, I know it would numb the pain a little bit.
Now, you've talked a little bit about writing. Now, did you start writing when you got here, or were you writing before you moved here?
I was writing before I moved
Okay.
here, but I was writing about like the sky and flowers and like things that did not matter, like at all. And when I first moved here, I was still not to the point where I'm at now. And the reason that I'm at where I'm at now is because of the people that I've surrounded myself with and the writers that are just immensely talented that I've been able to work with. Yeah, I think it's seriously just all who you get to know, and you get to learn about those people. And obviously, I'm now 20, so I'm now a woman, and I was a little girl. So, you know, experiences changes, and the way you talk, and your maturity levels, and all that goes into your writing. So
now, you've had some successes in songwriting too. Now, Old Me, the song I spoke about earlier, went to #1. It was the #1. Correct me. Let me make sure I get this right.
Totally fine.
It was #1 in the country songwriting division.
Yes, and the Rich Release Songwriter
Yeah.
Festival.
Okay. So talk about that.
That's voted on by Hall of Fame songwriters.
Nice.
So Tony Arata was one of them, which I absolutely love him and all of his work. He wrote The Dance for Garth Brooks, just for one of his many successes. So songwriters like that, Beth Nielsen Chapman wrote This Kiss for Faith Hill, and
nice.
So it's like, it's having that affirmation from immensely successful people like that are like, hey, what you're doing is good, keep going. Like festivals like that and competitions like that you get that satisfaction of, wow, I wrote something that people actually think could go somewhere. Yeah, I've always believed in Old Me from the beginning, and I'm just glad that I finally got like a little bit of something to put on my wall. Like,
yeah, no, it's a good song.
Cool.
I mean, the song is very well written, very well produced. You did a really good job on it. So where do you go from here? So now, I mean, you got an EP that's doing very, very well. You got a songwriting competition under your belt that you won, or placed #1. So I mean, where do you go next from here?
Right now, I've just spent this whole summer writing and getting to people's shows and meeting new people, and honestly just having experiences, because if I don't have an experience to write about or to live through and get through, then I don't have any inspiration. So this summer I'm just trying to like really live my life to the fullest, honestly, and write and perform. I've been performing as much as I ever have been with band and just writers rounds. And I think next for me will obviously be another project, probably like this fall. And then probably releasing that at the end of this year or next year sometime. I'm excited for the next chapter for sure. I think that it's going to be a whole nother level of grown up, just I've already experienced so much more. I feel like as a songwriter, you feel a lot, and I feel like within 1 year I've lived 3 or 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Now, are you going to try to tour behind this one too while you're working on the second EP, or are you just going to put this one, let it do what it does and go ahead and start moving to the second one?
So I'm still writing out this past EP, still,
touring
playing
and
the
playing.
songs out. I did the music video. I still think there's some fire left in this one.
It is.
But I'm excited for this next one because I do think that some kind of tour will go with it. I do think I'll do a radio tour. I think that I think this year is going to be good for me and my music. I just kind of feel it in my belly.
There you
I'm just going to go with it.
It's a gut feeling. So what else outside of that? I mean, let's talk about some of the plans for some of your upcoming shows outside of the EP, because I know you're working on some other projects too outside of music.
Yeah.
Talk about it. What else is going on with you?
So do you just mean like other things I do besides music?
Yes.
Or? Yeah. So I basically eat, sleep, breathe music.
Okay.
That's like the thing. Yeah, I guess I love to work out. I love to like hike. So obviously just like going outdoors a lot. I'm such a social butterfly. I'm out like a lot with friends and going to people's shows. People are always like, "Are you not tired of just always being around music? Like, do you ever just not want to do music?" Like, I guess there's some times where I want to go home and not talk about music, or I want to go on a vacation and not talk about music, you know? But most of the time, like, my friends are musicians, and I want to be there, and I want to support them, and, I want to go to, like, their release parties, and like that's the
Right.
kind of stuff that I love to do. So even though my music is my job and my future career, hopefully, it's still just like it's kind of what I do when I'm not doing it at the same time. I'm always in music.
Now, if people want to hear more about you and the projects that you're working on, where can they find you? Like, drop your social media, your SoundCloud, Spotify, the whole 9 yards. Where can they find you?
So I'm just Bella Raye Music on everything:
Okay.
Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, iTunes, all of that. It's just Bella Raye. So that's RAYE. And that's where you can find me everywhere.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up, is there anything that I have not asked that you want us to know about you?
Oh gosh.
This is your chance. The floor is yours.
I don't think so. I'm just ready to get more people to know my name and get out and play more.
Now you're
I'm
well on the
excited
way.
for this year. I'm super excited.
You're well on the way. If Dear 17 is an indication, Scott, it's all yours.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you
me.
for sitting down with me.
Yeah, no worries.